Come on.
Hey ho.
Live from my own private snow squall to Business Pants Friday show here at February 7th Studios. Featuring analyst Hole Matt Moscardi. Woo! Take a bow, Matt. Yeah, come on.
I am bowing. Yes.
On today's weekly wrap-up, the Super Bowl of confusion. CEOs are being paid to be good bosses. Spinelessness. And TikTok ate my lipstick.
Can you say Super Bowl? Doesn't the
Super
NFL
Bowl.
sue you as soon as
Super
you say
Bowl.
it? Isn't that the way that works?
Our show today is being sponsored by FreeFlowAnalytics.com, the only platform measuring board power, connections, and performance for free.
Yeah, love that. Love all the things you just said.
fact-
All those words.
For all of you investors out there who actually care about this stuff, one of the stories I cover in our Goodliest, I'm going to make a reference to FreeFlowAnalytics.com, to our data, our proprietary data, because it's an interesting twist there.
It's
Little
not.
twist.
It's not us. They're our sponsor.
Oh, not
There's-
us.
yeah,
I don't mean us. I mean like
whoever Free Flow Analytics
we
is.
who use the platform.
Yes,
The collective
yes.
we.
So can I just say before we jump in here,
Yeah, of course.
I hated every story this week.
Oh, I will
It's
say this.
really-
It's like I have some like glass half full, glass half empty for you. Okay, in 2025, at least the small victory is that every moment of every day before the Super Bowl is not about the Super Bowl anymore. It used to be just like that's all we cared about was sports and football and Super Bowl. I've like barely heard a word about it, Matt. So at least is that good, right? Is
okay,
that something?
well,
Have we evolved as a culture?
You don't live in Kansas City
I
or
doubt it.
Philadelphia, and neither do I. We both live in New England, where we lived for the Super Bowl for 20 years because
I'm
it
looking
was
at
fun.
national news sources. I'm not just looking at the Portland paper and the Providence Gazette or whatever.
Providence Gazette.
What is it? Providence News Journal?
It's
What are they?
It's the Projo, the Providence Journal, baby.
Journal. Okay.
Gazette. Come on. All right, let's just do this because it's depressing.
Let's do
to
it.
Me. It's depressing.
I have some good stories though. And good news. Come on.
I have one, and I don't like it.
I will say that my stories of the week are not the most uplifting, but let's just get to it anyway.
Oh, good. Let's do it. Yeah.
Let's start with Google. The shameless Google flip-floppers. When you look at Silicon Valley, Matt, when you squint, you'd always say to yourself, okay, well, we know Meta and Facebook. We know they're out. They're horrible people. And maybe Apple's okay. Maybe Microsoft's okay. Maybe Google's okay. Maybe they're sort of okay. Google it was basically started by librarians, right? So, but I don't know. I think your squinting is sending you the wrong message, because this is what happened out of Google this week. First, Google ends diversity hiring goals as it reviews its DEI programs. And then second, in the same week, Matt, Google axes its promise not to use AI for weapons or surveillance just weeks into the Trump presidency. So,
Wow. When they axe a promise, where do they do that? Do they take it out back to axe it? Do they like is it just a lawyer with like word perfect from 1997 deleting that line?
All you shareholder derivative lawsuit fans, I know there's a lot of you. Why aren't you suing for any promise broken? I mean, first of all, you should sue if they got rid of their DEI program, because maybe you bought shares based on that. You should definitely sue for using their AI for weaponry. I mean, what are you doing? Come on.
Is it false advertising that their motto used to be "Don't be evil"? And
Well, there was another article and I don't know what percentage of actual Alphabet workers this represents, but suggesting that workers at Google, at Alphabet, were looking at each other being like, wait, are we the bad guy now? Are we the evil?
There you go. You are correct.
Yes, you are.
are the bad guy now. Sorry.
And you know
I don't
what?
care
Yeah,
if you
go ahead.
work on Google Cloud or you're doing like Google like oceanography, or you're just like, you are paid by the same two bros who own all of these decisions, and your $400,000 a year salary, which makes your life livable and cush and delightful.
Livable. I mean, yeah, beyond livable.
I mean, in San Francisco, you're like middle class at $400,000 a year. That salary, I don't care if you think you're doing good, your firm is no longer on that side. That's just the way that works, right?
Okay,
Isn't that the way that works?
But these people work for Google, Matt. They've seen all the news stories that say, like, I quit my horrible Google job and moved to New Hampshire, and I work for the Forestry Service, and I've never been happier. You've seen those. Yeah. You've seen those articles. Yeah, so why don't you do that?
Isn't that all of Business Insider's articles?
Yes. Actually, yes. All right, that's the first story of the week. The shameless Google flip-floppers. I'm probably the idiot here because I just thought, I didn't think Google would suck that bad, but I guess I
know.
Yeah.
We're desperate for an adult somewhere.
Speaking of sucking badly, I had to throw this story in just to tweak you, but this one was making the rounds last night, so it just seemed like possible story of the week type of story because maybe it kind of in a nutshell kind of demonstrates what we're going through as a culture better than any other story I could have used to highlight this, and that is VC giant Andreessen Horowitz hires man acquitted in New York City subway killing. Yes, the guy who, what did he do, Matt? He strangled someone on the subway because he didn't like that he was homeless or something?
No, the homeless guy came in and was making a lot of noise, and this guy
put him in a chokehold. Daniel Perry.
Yeah.
And somehow he now works. He's now been hired for a venture capitalist firm.
My favorite part is he's working on Andreessen Horowitz's American Dynamism portweportfolio.
That's what makes me a little nervous about the current age. We're like, are we going to be like weaponizing Daniel Perry types to sort of start killing our homeless? Like, what are we doing? I don't know what's happening.
No, I think we weaponize patriotism. Everything's America and freedom, and like the freedom is the freedom to be able to do things in opportunity, right? It's not like killing hobos in New York subways. That's not the freedom we're going for usually. So
why don't we weaponize filling potholes?
But this story, I don't like. It's either a troll, like Andreessen Horowitz realizes, like this is a great way to troll America.
Yeah, it's a troll, certainly.
Or it's like kind of like fine. He was acquitted. Like they went through the trial. He was acquitted. So was OJ.
They didn't hire OJ.
Well, they could have. Maybe he's next.
He used to be. He was a board member at CBS Corporation. He would have been a better hire.
See, there you go.
All right, the next one. I'm sorry, Matt. You can turn off your headphones, but I had to do it. I always wrestle with myself. Am I avoiding the Elon Musk stories because I'm sick of the stories?
I already hate the words coming out.
But this is sort of the one of the personal mandates of this company and these shows is that we're trying to shine a light on stories that maybe a lot of people are avoiding, or a lot of people, they're kind of sick of all this, especially since Trump won, so they look away because they can't handle the horror. But I gathered a very big handful of Musk DOGE shit show stories, and I'm just going to go over them one by one. So this will probably take me 45 seconds, so feel free to tune out if it's too much. Yeah,
before you jump down, I just want to remind our audience who Elon Musk is.
Go ahead.
Because it's very confusing.
Go ahead.
Elon Musk is the CEO of Tesla, a publicly traded company that sells cars.
That's the only public corporation he's CEO of.
He's also the CEO of several other corporations that go to space, that
dig tunnels
inside brains, that dig tunnels. So he's a CEO, and he's very wealthy, and
he's the wealthiest man in the world.
He's not from a government or a government employee. He's a CEO and sells cars. That's his primary source of his wealth. Okay,
he was not elected to his role in the government, nor did he have to pass any kind of congressional oversight.
I just want to make sure we're clear. Elon Musk is the CEO. All of his money comes because he's the CEO of a company that sells cars. That's what he does.
I think what Matt's saying is that if you're an investor in Tesla, you are absolutely 100% complicit in all of this. So I don't care what you tell yourself. I don't care if you worship to the throne of shareholder primacy or whatever it is, but you are absolutely complicit in this. So that's you. I'm talking to you.
Company. He makes cars.
Car company, yeah. Okay. Giving Elon Musk's DOGE access to the Treasury payment system risks a U.S. debt default and global financial crisis, Senator warns. Elon Musk just pulled something unbelievably sketchy at the U.S. Treasury. Elon Musk's DOGE gains access to sensitive Treasury data, including Social Security and Medicare payment systems. Elon Musk says DOGE will now shut down government payments he doesn't like. Elon Musk's pet U.S. attorney threatens anyone reporting on DOGE.
Ooh, that's a fun one.
Elon Musk says it's time to get rid of all regulations. Official warns that Elon Musk is poised to kill, quote, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, quote, of people. Elon Musk says naming specific government workers is illegal after doing exactly that himself.
Oh.
Some members of Elon Musk's DOGE squad aren't sharing their last names as they attempt to remake the federal workforce. I like that one. The person ruling on Elon Musk's DOGE conflicts of interest is Elon Musk. Elon Musk's assault on the government has canceled a human trial for a promising HIV vaccine. Elon Musk's henchmen feeding sensitive government data into AI.
Oh, no.
Elon Musk said DOGE would provide maximum transparency. It may be years before its records are public. Musk's DOGE is trying to access your data, your right to be paranoid. And that's out of the Washington Post. That's not some weird blog, okay? And finally, 25-year-old employed by Elon Musk's DOGE who posted he was, quote, racist before it was cool, end quote, resigns after being linked to deleted social media accounts.
Yeah.
And Matt, I actually left out some headlines, so I don't know what to tell you. I just had to do it. I had to let people know. So again, if you're an investor in Tesla, if you're driving a Tesla, if your Aunt Jenny has a Tesla, you're absolutely complicit in this if you just don't do anything about it. Come on.
I mean, so Elon Musk, like, if you drive a Tesla or not, he now knows every tax payment you've ever made or didn't make. He knows your name and social security number. Yeah. In fact, there are reports that his 19 to 25-year-old male DOGE staff, which is almost entirely
Speaking of the meritocracy,
19 to 25-year-old males, including the kid who posted he was racist before it was cool. Yeah. That his entire team
still not cool.
Has been reported to be walking around with unencrypted hard drives with millions of pieces of private information of U.S. citizens on it. Just
Matt,
out and about.
The good news is that there's still Netflix and TikTok, and people don't have to pay attention. They can just go back to question. Streaming their shows. Yeah, go ahead.
Let's make this concrete, right? Because it would be easy to be like really alarmist about the richest man in the world bought, like himself access to every government. In fact, there's reports that he like helped craft tariffs in, against Canada and Mexico that benefited him. That now SpaceX employee is now been appointed at NASA. So he's basically taking over every arm of the government that he can.
Ironically, not even born in America. Yeah, can't even be president.
To his personal benefit. And that like Grandpa Trump, who's like sort of doddering and doesn't really know what's going on, never like the details in the first place.
Never really knew what was going on, yeah.
I mean, now Elon Musk basically is like he's taking advantage of poor Grandpa, telling him like, Grandpa, can I have another $20? You didn't give it to me after doing that over and over again and just taking money.
And Elon's just being Elon. I get that.
Here's the reminder.
Yeah.
Elon Musk is the CEO of a publicly traded car manufacturer.
A car company whose sales are plummeting across the globe, all across Europe and China. They announced yesterday in parts of the U.S., California, where there used to be the most Tesla buyers, they're cratering everywhere.
If this is how he runs the government, how does he run the car company that he's not actually at running? Well, because he's busy running the government.
The more important question for you, Matt, is since we're all about kind of the mechanisms behind this world we cover, the accountability. Why aren't his shareholders voting him out off the board? At least his brother. Like, why aren't they at least voting against every say on pay package? Why aren't they at least voting him out there at Tesla? What's going on? I don't know.
I don't know. We'll come back.
Can we move on?
Yeah.
And finally, the fourth story of the week. This is a simple one. NFL to remove end racism messaging in end zone ahead of Super Bowl. Again, it was there, so they're actually removing it. It's not like they're deciding not to put the message end racism. And let me remind you that the NFL, the last time I noticed, is not really a group full of like white people from Nebraska. It's a pretty big mix of cultures there. But I will say this, Matt. On the other hand, Commissioner Roger Goodell reaffirmed the league's diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts aimed at goals such as increasing the number of non-white coaches, despite the recent wave of DEI pullback. So,
wow.
The reports were, Matt, I hope this is not true. The reports were that they were removing the messaging because Elon Musk's buddy Donald Trump is showing up to the game in person and they don't want him to be angry. But is our world really that simplistic and stupid? Is that possible? Is that possibly why they're removing it?
You know,
what's he going to do? What's he going to do?
Yeah, like, could you say that end racism is not actually DEI? Like, because isn't the whole anti-DEI...
It's absolutely not DEI, no.
The whole anti-DEI movement is saying racism. They're just saying it's racism against white men.
Yes,
right? Like
exactly. They're calling out systemic racism against white guys.
So if they remove end racism, does that mean they want more racism? Is that
I don't know.
Like,
I don't know.
What's the messaging?
Why
then?
would we? Yeah, because why?
That one isn't controversial.
That's a good point. I like that.
All right. So my options
Yeah.
for story of the week are the Google's flip-flopping, Andreessen Horowitz hiring a killer, acquitted killer.
Yeah. I shouldn't giggle. Sorry.
Musk, DOGE, and NFL removing end racism. I don't want to vote for this, but it has to be Musk DOGE, right? Like this was the week.
And again,
not only did they get access to the Treasury payment system, but a judge actually stopped access to the Treasury payment system. They tried to fire all these employees, and then a judge basically they sued, and now there's a temporary hold on the firing. Like literally everything that is happening is contravening law. And he's like founder moding the government, which isn't the way. It turns out, government is not run by venture capitalists. It is run for the benefit of the population. And when you founder mode government, you actively hurt big swaths of the population.
And I want all the listeners to be clear. I repeat this often because I think it's worth repeating, is that, first of all, the data we look at is not on the left or right. It's not Republican and Democrat. The way you use the data certainly could support what you're up to politically. That's not what the data is. ESG is not a political force. It's not a political ideology. Beyond that, Matt, I accumulate thousands of headlines every week. I tag the ones that I think are most important. I think it's about 1,500 articles a month that I tag. I am not Matt, I know you find this hard to believe. I'm not looking at like the Ben and Jerry Gazette. Like I'm not looking at like the Hippie Times. Like I only actually look at some of the biggest business news sources in the world. So these are all of the Elon Musk's headlines I've accumulated from those news sources, like from like Fortune magazine, from the Washington Post, from things like that. This is not just like I don't even follow the very left publication. So this is not a leftist thing. This is just the normal business news worried like the rest of us.
Yeah, and you're saying that it's both sides of the political aisle. Like it's, like the Wall Street Journal, which is a Fox
Murdoch
joint,
owned,
right? Like it's a Murdoch owned joint. And you're looking at the New York Times, which someone might say is incredibly liberal, but kind of is just journalism. But that notwithstanding, we don't actually limit our news sources. This is what everyone's saying.
Yes, absolutely. All right, that's the story of the week. Unfortunately, the Musk DOGE shit
horrible.
Show. Let's move on.
And like I said, it's a horrible show. Let's go on to good list of the week. I'm so tired already.
I have 3 of them here because I really needed to make myself feel better. So do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first? I have 3.
I have 1.
Yeah.
So ahead. I can do this.
Yeah.
So the headline it's just a headline. It's very, very simple. Harvard Law Library is saving the data that the Trump administration is removing. In fact, Harvard Law's Innovation Lab has so far managed to preserve more than 300,000 data sets that are actively being, it's 16 terabytes of data.
Yeah.
They are protecting it because they know we're going to need it in the future.
This is frightening.
As the administration is wiping it from the web.
This is frightening. As usual, libraries are saving the day. I'm not a fan of I hate comic book movies like Marvel. I hate Star Wars. I don't like any of that crap. My one guilty pleasure is I don't know why I love like Mission Impossible movies. I love the Bourne Identity movies. But I was recently watching a Mission Impossible movie, Matt, and there was some evil entity that was trying to control data. And there was this amazing scene of there were government workers, which is kind of ironic based on what we're talking about today. There was thousands of government workers in a room with typewriters trying to offload data from the server, trying to preserve it because, the data, absolutely right, Harvard Library, the data is in danger if we don't have a manual way of capturing some of it. And watching the movie, I'm like giggling like, oh, that's never going to happen. But, oh man, like it might be starting to happen as we speak.
The 13-year-old middle school manflakes over in DOGE they just got access to NOAA. That's like the primary place where we hear warnings about, hurricanes and tornadoes and stuff. And they've been like steadily privatized over years. This isn't unique to right now, but that's the kind of data that sort of I would call a public good. That is steadily disappearing. Okay, so that was my good one.
Your story did not make me feel good. Let me give it a shot.
They're saving data.
Yeah, let me give it a shot. I'm going to start with a female-focused search engine called DM, which sees 40% growth amid Trump, TikTok's troubles, and Meta's masculinity moment. I like that. Female-focused search engine. They kind of incorporate a lot of social media stuff in there, but again, maybe this is our way out of this. Maybe this is our future. This is why I personally promote diversity and leadership so much, because maybe this is literally our way out of it, is to wrestle control away from tech bros. I mean, again, they still have the freedom to delete things like, Facebook and Instagram or whatever from their phones and maybe try a female-focused search engine.
So I like this, but I also am like, has it really come to we need a search engine for women? Because
yes.
The world is so fucked up.
Part of what she's doing, forgive me, I've forgotten the name of the woman who runs this. I think it's Emma. Part of what she is doing is, look, she controls the algorithms at her own search engine. Emma Bates. So what they can do is that they can change. They can change what the search engine gives back to you depending on what you ask. Yes. I mean, Matt, they can change a lot. Yes. Maybe this is what it's come to. Absolutely.
Yeah. That doesn't make me feel good.
All right. Made me feel good. Maybe this one I know will make you feel good. This is a no-brainer, goodliest story of the week. 1 million cars have disappeared. What New York City is like after 1 month of congestion pricing. Congestion pricing began on January 5th. 1 month in, traffic is down, Public buses are faster and transit ridership is up. How do you hate that?
And there
one,
it
Matt?
is. There it is.
How do you hate that?
Because Trump said he was planning on pausing that, and it was on his agenda. He didn't want to allow. I don't know why.
Why would you pause that?
Well, I don't understand how you could pause that. Like, you're saying that the city and state can't make its own decision about how to like toll its streets?
Matt, beyond that,
it's more of a nanny state now than it's ever been.
Beyond that, he used to live there. I mean, the amount of noise and smells coming out of all the cars in Manhattan is overwhelming. He knows
but this
that.
means his gold limo is not allowed.
He can afford.
To pay.
He can
for his
afford.
gold limo.
He can afford that.
I'm just saying.
And finally, I have 2 stories about DEI related bonuses. So let's keep on in good news here. Good news. Costco awarded executives hundreds of $1,000s in DEI related bonuses, and Novo Nordisk missed its diversity targets last year, and its CEO paid a financial price.
Wow.
Yeah, according to Fortune, the CEO at Novo Nordisk, Jorgensen is his name. He surrendered about $100,000 in pay because he didn't hit certain targets.
That was out of 20-ish million.
Okay, but I'm trying.
Actually,
it's not an American company, Matt. So I think it was only like 7 million. To be fair.
That's actually a bigger chunk then.
Anyway, I gave it a shot. Come on.
Mine is still mine's the goodliest. Sorry, like saving the data. Yeah, saving the data is the best.
To me, it's the cars. It's the cars.
I know, but I think that's a temporary.
All right, it's a tie.
Game. All right, it's a tie. There we go.
Let's move on.
If you weren't depressed already, let's do assholes.
No, I'm not depressed. I'm feeling good after these cars and the bonus, the DEI related bonuses. I'm feeling good.
All right, I got 3.5-ish.
Bring me down. Bring me down.
All right, here we go. Here's number 1. Spineless people, part 1. Investors in middle school. These are middle school investors.
What does that mean?
Look, I'm talking to you, BlackRock and Vanguard, who
Yep.
both voted for Kimball and Elon on the board every year. In fact, BlackRock last year voted for Kimball and against James Murdoch because of conflict of interest of James Murdoch.
This is where I don't understand the ball. I don't get the game anymore, Matt. Look, I'm
They
not
wrote
going to
this
quibble.
down.
You've heard me say that we don't need CEOs on boards. I know that's a bit of a stretch for most of these old school people like BlackRock and Vanguard. But the CEO's brother.
The
CEO's brother, Matt, who has no expertise in anything.
I'm going to read this to you. They voted against James Murdoch as a nomination committee member. He's responsible for the lack of independence.
He has more relevant experience.
And then they voted for Kimball Musk.
But if you're just doing a conflict, of interest thing and you have to pick one, I would even pick James Murdoch. Why are you picking Kimball Musk? I don't get that. I don't get that at all.
James Murdoch, they vote against because he's responsible for a lack of independence. And then BlackRock, without irony, votes for the brother of the CEO.
The brother of the CEO.
When investors act basically like greedy middle school manflakes, like what we're seeing in government, the CEOs also act that way. That's why we just spent 20 minutes talking about Elon Musk and basically doging his way through the U.S. government, while it occurs to me, Musk actually now, because he had access to the payment system of the Treasury, he has visibility into his own investors' Treasury transactions.
Of course.
Which would be bad when you read a headline that says Elon Musk clashes with CEO of 1.7 trillion Norway wealth fund and Tesla shareholder who voted against his pay package, his $56 billion compensation deal.
Yeah.
So Musk can go and look at any treasury ownership of the Norway Wealth Fund. He can tinker with it because he doesn't like that they voted against his pay package.
This is nuts.
And just to remind you, BlackRock, Vanguard, these like middle school investors who can't be less clear about their voting and their voting policies. This is what Musk is supposed to be working on. I'm just going to read 5 headlines. Musk effect. Tesla sales slump in 5 European markets in January. Tesla car sales in China fall 11.5% as competition intensifies. Tesla stock fell. California might be turning against Elon Musk. Tesla recalls more than 239,000 vehicles over rear view camera problem. Tesla to recall 1.2 million cars in China on safety concerns.
That's what he's supposed to be doing. That's his job.
He's supposed to be CEOing, but instead of CEOing, he's playing video games, making tariffs against Canada and Mexico, which are the biggest losers if those tariffs had stayed because they've been halted for 30 days, would be auto competitors of Musk.
We gotta get you a cough button.
Oh my God.
Can we afford a cough button for you?
So while you guys are voting for Kimball Musk and you guys are not holding the CEO accountable in any way, shape, or form, recalls are up, sales are down. The company is actually not doing anything really. And Kimball just exercised $27.59 million of stock. $27,590,647.50.
The brother of the CEO.
You just paid Kimball Musk more than $27 million to be Elon Musk's brother.
And to be clear, the share price is performing terribly in 2024. Its only bounce was the fact that he was basically just elected president. Like it had nothing to do with Tesla itself. And let me add to this, BlackRock and Vanguard. You're kind of also partly responsible for the mess around his pay package because the Delaware Chancery is trying to get rid of ruled against that pay package because you keep voting for conflicts of interest on the Tesla board. So you're creating a quagmire by not doing your job, not performing your due diligence.
So BlackRock, Vanguard, stop being middle schoolers and stand up for yourself. Ask for an adult CEO who has one job.
And how about board members that provide actual oversight? All right, that's number one. Keep going.
Number two.
Before you cough yourself to death.
Yeah, I know. It's unbelievable. Number two is another set of spineless distraction extortionists here.
Oh, no.
Two stories. NCAA bars transgender women from competing in women's sports.
No reason for that.
And NFL to remove end racism messaging in end zone.
No reason for that.
Ahead of the Super Bowl. Here's some stats.
Yeah.
In the NFL, 53.5% of the players in 2023 were black.
Mm-hmm.
75.6% of the league are people of color. 24.4% white. Yeah.
Interesting. Did not know that.
The U.S. population is 75.3% white.
Oh. So
end racism is not controversial in the NFL.
Well, the NFL needs to end its own racism, man. How unlike the NBA, how are so few of its head coaches black? How is that possible? Aren't they if the players are black and now the two starting quarterbacks in the Super Bowl are black? I mean, ostensibly they are the experts of football. How are they not running these teams?
So, but the NFL isn't the worst one in my mind.
Go ahead.
NCAA barring transgender women from competing.
I don't get this one.
It's on the back of a Trump order mandating that women can't compete in men's sports. And when they say women, they mean or men can't compete in women's sports. And when they say men, they mean transgender women because they only refer to them using their biological sex. Look, here's a number, okay? There are 530,000 student athletes at NCAA schools. The president of the NCAA, Charlie Baker, the ex-governor of Massachusetts,
the most liberal state in the world,
said in a congressional hearing in December, there are fewer than 10 transgender athletes of the 530,000.
So why is he banning? What is he doing?
So we've banned. Why do the headlines say we banned transgender women from competing in women's sports? Why doesn't it say 10 women are not allowed to play in women's sports? Then have them stand on stage and be like Trump thinks you're weird, all 10 of you. And that we constructed laws and mandates, orders. We were wasting government time for you 10 women. That's it, 10.
Well, here's part of the problem. Maybe Matt, there's a different perspective I can give you. Maybe part of the problem is why is the head of the NCAA Charlie Baker, right? You're focusing on the fact that he used to be the governor of Massachusetts, but who he really was and how he probably became governor is he's the former CEO of Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare. Why is the former CEO of Harvard Pilgrim Healthcare running the NCAA in the first place? I don't know.
Why doesn't Charlie Baker stand up and rather than NCAA barring transgender women, why don't they say, this is a non-issue? We've had 0 complaints. This applies to
statistically
10
speaking,
students.
you could prove it's a non-issue.
This applies to fewer
beyond
than 10
negligible.
students, according to our own president. This
Beyond
is
negligible.
the least impactful waste of time
Matt,
that
you
we could
said,
possibly think of.
You said there's 0.018% transgendered athletes in the NCAA. Matt, there's probably 0.0818% like charcoal in my oatmeal. I mean, what 0.018%? Like what? Like that's like barely a trace of anything.
It's pointless. It is pure,
literally.
It is purely
By the
bigoted.
data,
It is
yeah.
purely
Purely bigoted.
anti-LGBTQ plus. Like
Why
there's
now?
nothing about it.
Why right
that
before the
isn't.
Super Bowl? Why this week? What are we doing, Charlie Baker?
Charlie, stand up for yourself.
Yeah, I mean,
Hey,
you used to run a
Roger.
healthcare company. What are you doing?
Roger Goodell, stand up for yourself. Just say like racism isn't DEI. Like racism applies to everyone everywhere. Ending racism we should all strive for. Charlie, you could stand up and say, this is the biggest non-issue in the history of issues. What are we doing? The NCAA is going to says to Trump's order, fine, sue us. Because you have to like prove that there is actually any negative impact here. There is no negative impact.
Yeah, well,
ever. Never has been.
That's the real irony of all this, Matt. We're talking about like volleyball and like softball and football. Who cares? Nobody cares. It's just, they're dumb games. Stop it.
It's like a D4 pickleball league that they've stopped.
Just stop.
Like,
Stop.
And then number 3,
Yeah. What do we got?
DEI whiners.
DEI whiners. What does that mean? Anti-DEI whiners? What are we talking about?
Look, you just covered. I don't want to cover all the anti-DEI flip-flopping. You just covered how Google just flip-flopped, but we know
For
all
no
the
reason.
flip-floppers.
Yeah.
There's a ton of them. I can't believe I'm about to say this.
Do
but
it.
Activist investors seem to be the only ones left doing any work at all in
Other
capital
than us.
markets.
Other than us.
Because here's the headline.
Yeah.
Starboard nominates 4 directors at Kenview's board. So Starboard's taken out a 1.1% stake of Kenview, the company. It's worth nearly $500 million. That's like a lot of real money, like $500 million worth of money is the value of their investment. Here's who they nominated. Jeff Smith, who's a Starboard investor. He's the rep. He's like helps run Starboard. Michelle Millstone Schroff, Bed Bath & Beyond, a woman.
DEI hire.
Kara Robinson from Unilever, a black woman.
DEI.
Bindu Shah from Sephora, an Indian woman. How is it that Starboard can go out with $500 million of real money, making a financial case of why they need to turn Kenview around, and Starboard takes an activist stake in this? They managed to find not 1, but 3 out of the 4 directors they're nominating are all women.
Well, here's the
Isn't
thing,
that
Matt.
like, are we accusing Starboard of not doing meritocracy with a $500 million investment?
Matt, but here's the real thing. Here's the real game about meritocracy. If you look at a spreadsheet of the qualifications, the education of men versus women, and if you're too stupid, you can like literally put your finger on the spreadsheet so you can like trace it over rows and columns. You will see, Matt, that if we're just going to do meritocracy, you should be hiring the women.
Right. Which is exactly what I'm saying. I'm working behind the scenes.
That's the way it works. That's what the data tells you.
On some of this, because that the data says exactly that. If you
Follow the
measure
data, people.
meritocracy, so anybody who comes to you and says we only hire on merit, demand that they prove it. If you're an investor in a company, every new director you should say, can you show me why this director that you've appointed, because these are appointments. These are directors that have not been elected yet. They've been appointed. Every single appointment, you should go in with your engagement team, write a letter that's a stock letter that you can send immediately upon appointment and say, we have X% money in your company. we want you to prove that this appointment is a meritocratic appointment and not based on some other factor. Because right now in this climate, that is what Trump is saying. His order says you got to erase DEI. DEI's racism or whatever.
Fine, give me the proof.
It's horrible.
Give me the proof.
Fine. Give me the proof of meritocracy.
I'll tell you this. Yeah.
When Starboard does it, they find 3 out of the 4 directors are women, and the other one works at Starboard, right? Like that's so when they went outside and they said, let's find some of the most highly qualified directors that investors will vote for because we have a $500 million stake in this company and want to change it. What they came up with was 3 women.
I got 2 things to say here. Used of all, for the anti-DEI, the anti-ESG crowd, I guess you're anti-DEI, anti-ESG. Do you realize you're just doing ESG? You're just doing it in like the opposite direction. You're still doing what you hate ESG to do. You're basically scolding companies to act the way you want them to act, right?
No, but I'm incredibly I'm so tired of defending DEI. I want someone to defend meritocracy. Like we spent years, decades in ESG gathering data, showing, you wrote a paper on women on boards.
Well, I was going to bring that up. Yeah.
12 years ago now?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, Matt, that the one thing when I used to go to clients or potential clients and share the paper, two notable things happened. First of all, the women were always super engaged and the men were always super angry and confrontational. But the one thing that I learned, the one trick I learned, it wasn't a trick, it's how I really felt, is that I eventually pushed back on the men who were challenging the purpose of the paper to begin with. And I said, well, prove to me that the male directors should be there and that they're better for the company. And that's the one thing that shut them up. Because, Matt, they have absolutely there's no system set in place to prove the meritocracy, to prove that the white men are better performing. None. They don't have that criteria to share.
So that's the inherent problem. While everyone's busy being outraged about the sort of attacks on DEI, what you should be outraged about is the lack of backing for meritocracy.
Ask for the proof. Ask for the proof.
Flip this on its head. Constantly ask.
I want a spreadsheet.
Prove to me.
Yeah, share me the data.
Merit. Show me merit.
Beyond that, Matt, the thing why I support Starboard too is that you would think at a minimum that the black woman, the Indian woman, the white woman, these people who've come up this far in this patriarchal corporate world, you would think that they must have an incredible skill set and expertise and experience that they've even risen this far in the first place, right? I mean, shouldn't they get credit for that? I mean, if you are creating your meritocracy spreadsheet with data points, you're going to find that the women are going to be leading them across the board for not only for their education and their experience and their expertise, but also what they've overcome to even get there, because they've been sitting on boards where they have no voice. Just so many things. So that's why you're right, Matt. Show me the proof, and maybe the reason why they're not showing the proof, Matt, is that they're not going to like what the proof shows.
Not only will they not like it, because we've actually done studies around it, but you could get the data from us. Like we said, the data is apolitical, right? We just have a whole bunch of data on every single director and how they perform. You could look at the performance metrics, you could look at the education metrics, you could look at the knowledge metrics, and what you would find is that routinely, women and people of color are held to a much higher standard. They have higher educations, they have more knowledge, and they get held always to a higher standard, despite the fact that they usually have less power in the boardroom.
And they have less institutional support at the companies at which they're operating.
You find it with numbers. I'm not saying you find it that's not like an anecdote. That's not like my brother Gus said that this was true, and this is numerical. It's measurable. Right. You can in fact measure merit. I want someone to do it.
Assholes of the week. So my 3 choices.
Options.
Yeah. So I got a bunch of spineless choices. Investors in middle schoolers. You're referring to the tech bros like Elon Musk. distraction extortionists. So you're talking about, really, I think of the Rupert Murdoch family when you talk about distraction extortionists, but you're talking about essentially the sports, and then finally DEO whiners. Oh, this is a tough one. DEO whiners. Look, they're all great candidates. I'm landing squarely on the DEI whiner category because I absolutely support. Look, we struggle constantly here in this new year, in this new Trump administration. Like, how do we fight back against everything that's going on? This is a very calm, simple, genius way to fight back, Matt. Is for any investors out there, ask people to prove it. Prove that these candidates are better. Prove your meritocracy. Just prove it.
But I think that concept should be applied across everything. Like,
sure, that's what we do here.
If DOGE has access to your individual Medicaid payments and like taxes and whatever,
disclose what you're doing.
Why don't we file
the
first Freedom of Information Act request for Trump's taxes through DOGE, right? Why not turn all of it around? Why not, like, everything that gets attacked? The attacks are ideological. They're not based on science or data or anything like that.
As you refer to it's middle school tech bro man flake. What did you say? Something of their tech bro flake.
When middle schoolers are throwing a temper tantrum, you can very quickly turn it back on.
Ironically,
right?
statistically, that was the thing that they used to critique women for the most, right? It was that they were too emotional. But that's all they do now. It's how they run everything now, men.
Someone told me this, and I thought it was great. It's the same as if, like, your middle schooler is, you catch your middle schooler smoking a cigarette, and they throw a fit, like, whatever, Mom, I want to do whatever, Dad, I'm going to do whatever I want. And it's like, cool, smoke the whole pack right in front of me right now. It's like turning the whole thing on its head. Because the fact is, as soon as you do, all of the arguments fall apart. So let's do headliniest.
That's it. Assholiest GEO whiners. Let's get out of here. Come on. You're going to cough up a lung anyway. Headlines of the week.
Honestly. That's
cheated.
how angry I am.
I cheated again for headlines of the week because I wanted to find things that made me feel better. So I actually went with, I know I'm supposed to pick one. I don't care. I picked three. I picked three headlines of the week.
Well, then start with mine because it's not good.
Go ahead.
Mine are cows have been infected. Cows have been infected with a second form of bird flu.
What does that mean? Like, first they had like pigeon flu and now they have like robin flu? Like, what do you mean?
So there was a form of bird flu that had jumped to cows, and now they're finding a second strain that was with birds that has jumped to cows, meaning it's now very easily jumping back.
Is that
and
what
forth.
you have, Matt? Do you have bird flu? Is that why you're coughing so much today?
That's probably what I have. Yeah, I've been licking the beak of a bird recently.
My three are more fun, although one of them is actually not fun at all.
Start with not fun, and then go up.
Research. This is for Jesse, the money whisperer, our beloved Jesse, who is rightly fixated on plastics. So Ara, the data queen, she loves batteries, and Jesse, the money whisperer, loves plastics. Here's our headline for you, Jesse. Researchers found a spoon's worth of nanoplastics in human brains. The latest evidence that plastic is accumulating in our bodies. Like, I know that it does sound dark, but I graduated with a writing degree, so I just love the phrase a spoon's worth of nanoplastics. That's great. Yeah. That's great phraseology. Let's admit it. My second headline of the week. This one's for you, Matt. You love all like stories about Cybertruck in this way. Here's the headline.
I love juvenile Cybertruck stories.
Tragedy. Cybertruck defaced with large crude drawing.
Oh, wow. It just says tragedy?
Sarcasm. It's actually tragedy, exclamation point. A little sarcasm in that headline, yeah. And finally, this last headline cracked me up just for how stupid it is. And I support Elf, actually. I love the company Elf. But Elf's CEO says people bought less makeup last month because they were too fixated on TikTok's turmoil.
Oh, really?
Matt, what? Could you imagine like a normal college graduate from like 1976 going into a coma and then waking up and reading headlines like this that people were just bought less makeup because they were distracted by social media. What's happening, Matt?
I don't know. There's a lot.
What's going on? What's going on? Okay,
but I don't like it.
Let's just pick the Cybertruck story
it's
as the headline.
100% the Cybertruck.
All right, let's move on.
All right, winners. Look, I have an easy winner.
Yeah.
Anyone not traveling in an airplane.
Anyone not traveling in an airplane is
not
the winner.
in an airplane.
Yeah.
Well, not to mention there have been like multiple airplane crashes in like the last week. Or, you know, there was
That's
the crash
true.
in the Potomac. There was just a crash in Rio de Janeiro today.
Which is rare. Which is rare.
There was the crash in Korea. There's been that one's not this week, but like it seems like there's this like steady crash news cycle happening.
At least in the news cycle, because I don't know about the statistics of it. I don't know that it's getting any worse, right? But air travel still seems safe. Yeah.
But that's why this headline should make you feel really good that haven't booked that trip yet. Elon Musk says DOGE will make rapid safety upgrades to air traffic control systems following deadly plane crash.
Matt, I was yelling about this on our pre-production meeting. I was specifically singling out Travis Kalanick. He is the horrible frat bro who founded Uber. Who was so abhorrent, such a bad figure that Uber itself removed the founder. They got rid of their own founder. He was the CEO. He was a board member, and what I was ranting about was these tech bros just making all these fast, stupid changes that nobody wants or needs. This is what makes me crazy, Matt. Why do we need? First of all, we don't need. Elon Musk has no expertise in this area, and he wasn't elected to a government role. He got no congressional approval. Why do we need rapid safety upgrades? Why is he control of it? I don't know. The whole thing makes me crazy.
What does exactly
the whole thing makes me
DOGE
crazy.
have to do with air traffic control systems?
Because he is, and a lot of the world has somehow deluded themselves into thinking that he is a genius and that he can solve all problems, despite the fact that he can't even run a very good car company. But that's beside the point.
This is the same guy that overseeing this headline,
Safety recalls,
Tesla to recall 1.2 million cars. Are those the rapid safety upgrades that we want? Or
they have a lot of recalls too. That's not an outlier.
So that's terrible.
Matt.
My winner is not flying.
Yeah, my winner is okay. Mine's a little bit more confusing, probably because everything I think is confusing. My winner is people who hate the idea of ending racism while watching two black quarterbacks lead their teams during the Super Bowl. So.
Oh, that one is confusing. Am I that winner? I'm not watching the Super Bowl. So
yeah, I don't know. So like, because I guess I guess the idea is that all Americans don't want to end racism. I don't. To your point, Matt. I mean, I thought the whole anti-DEI thing was to protect white men. So that's a form of, I suppose, it's a form of discrimination.
I thought everything's racist.
Yeah, I don't know what we're doing. But then they're watching, as you pointed out, the NFL is mostly people of color. So the whole thing is very confusing. It's very confusing.
I'm confused.
Yeah.
Do you have a prediction?
Yeah, along that line, my prediction is that a new Bud Light emerges after the Super Bowl. A new anti-woke war emerges, and we find Kid Rock is shooting oatmeal. He's shooting gelatinous oatmeal after Quaker Oats runs an ad supporting motherhood with a biracial family or something. I don't know what they're going to mess up. I don't know what they're going to do wrong. The wrong shade of black person, the wrong type of woman with the wrong type of shirt. I don't know what's going to piss them off, but there's going to be a new Bud Light. Yeah, a new Bud Light.
Well,
emerges.
two things. If you put brown sugar in oatmeal, that makes it browner. That's not good.
That doesn't sound right. That sounds like a transgendered kind of soft cereal. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
And also, Bud Light, they just came out and they said the Dylan Mulvaney thing is still affecting their sales.
Yeah.
And that they wish to stop calling Bud domestic beer. They want to call it American beer. That's one of their ways they think they're going to get around it.
Despite the fact the company is not American owned or controlled, right? We do
Correct.
realize this.
Despite the fact that it's not based in America.
Call it what
and
you
finally,
want. Yeah.
my last prediction is I will die of tuberculosis before we end the show.
Yes,
don't
I
know
think
what
that's a
happened.
good prediction. I think yes.
I don't know what happened. I was just like, I want to
How will
cough
I know
every
if you
second
die?
now.
Do you think? Will your wife text me if you die? You think? What's the system?
I think you just look it up on DM.
Okay.
Did Matt Moscardi
All right.
die? And
All right,
it'll
good,
say
good.
something. That's it. That's our show. That's Hazelnut Rallis. I'm your analyst, old Matt Moscardi. We are Free Float. Come back next week. We're going to have a proxy countdown. We didn't have one this week. There's almost no AGMs going on right now. So it's a little early in the season. So we'll have another one next week when we get a few more. And we got our regular shows. Until then, good